Ladies and gentlemen, there is plenty of evidence that Charlie Kirk was not a racist. That in fact, Charlie Kirk was your average, regular, conservative Christian. But of course, there are people, usually in the opposing side of the political aisle, who are not concerned for context. They're not concerned for any evidence to the contrary. What they have been told is what they go by, because to them, it's not about evidence, it's not about facts, it's about feelings and what they want to be true. They want Charlie Kirk to be a racist, to be a white supremacist, um, but there's no evidence for that. I have yet to find anybody that provides any message in context of Charlie Kirk being a hateful bigot. What you'll find is clips that are cut at points for propaganda purposes, and in our day and age, people are unable to see a clip and wonder, well, what did he say before? What did he say after? What was the context and what was going on? The people in our day and age, they're not interested in any of that. They're just interested in the soundbite that confirm their bias, and they just go with it. If anybody would present a clear message from Charlie Kirk of being a racist and a hateful bigot that thinks black people are just evil maniacs that needs to be destroyed, then I want to hear it. And I will retract everything about Charlie Kirk. But that message doesn't exist. Another thing that a lot of Christians don't seem to get is that the things that Charlie Kirk believed stem from his Christian worldview. In other words, if you believe that homosexuality is sin, if you do not support gay marriage, if you believe that abortion is evil, if you believe that a person cannot change from being a man to becoming a woman, you are a hateful bigot. If you do not believe that current white people today should be held accountable and made to pay for the sins of their parents, and that racism is an inherent sin of the United States of America and that cannot be atoned for, then you're a hateful bigot. If you do not support DEI and the act of preference, racial preferences in favor of minorities, usually blacks, although it doesn't always work that way, if you think this is wrong and that we should go by merit, then you're a hateful bigot as far as they're concerned. You may not say this out loud, you may keep this to yourself, but they know you believe this. And as far as they're concerned, you're either with them or you're against them. There is no middle ground. I think that's one thing that a lot of Christians do not understand in today's age, is that as far as the left, the real, true left is concerned, there's no such thing as a middle ground. You're either with them or you're against them. Neutrality is a joke and is a myth as far as they're concerned. Now, for us Christians, we obviously know that when it's all said and done, neutrality is not a real thing either. We agree that there's no such thing as neutrality. You have to pick a side. Jesus himself told us that you're either with him or you're against him. You're either working with him to gather, or you're scattering. There's no such thing as a middle ground. So, as you proceed, I think it's futile. I think it's a waste of time to try to convince people that what is being said out there is unfounded, to try to defend Charlie Kirk, because these people are not, they're not interested in truth. So what's the use? What's the use of having a discussion with someone who is not interested in arriving at the truth? A lot of these people have already a predetermined truth as far as they're concerned. It's relativism, their truth. And they want you to adopt their truth. They're not interested in the truth. The truth is, you're not going to find any video messages that shows that Charlie Kirk was in fact a racist and a fascist and a hateful, divisive bigot. You're not going to find them. Again, you will find clips that might suggest that if you listen to the soundbite out of context. But if you listen to Charlie Kirk in context, you will find someone that has values that are in opposition to progressive values. You will find someone that is on the political aisle, but someone who is passionate about his beliefs, someone who's unafraid to say what he believes, someone who's not apologizing for believing what he believes or for being white. Someone who is unafraid to speak on politically incorrect topics. Someone who refuses to go along with the rules that there are certain subjects that white people cannot comment on. There are certain people that white people cannot talk about or criticize. That's all you'll find. Now, if you go from that to fascist, then we have a totally different definition of what a fascist is. If you go from that to a hateful bigot, then you have no argument, because those words, bigot, fascist, racist, they mean something. But of course, the other side enjoys the reality that these words don't mean anything to them. They don't mean anything concrete. These words means one thing today and something else tomorrow. This word mean one thing to that person and another thing to that person. We do not use the same dictionary. These words mean something different to me than it means to them, which is why, as far as many of them are concerned, a black person cannot really be a racist, which is, of course, a bunch of nonsense, because everybody is capable of being hateful and bigots. I've received the most hate and prejudice from black people and Hispanic people, minorities. And I've met people who went to China and realized the Chinese people were absolutely intolerant to black people. So we're all humans. We're all capable of terrible, terrible things. We all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But no one is more wicked in terms of before God than another person. We're all human. I just seen a clip of Charlie Kirk rejecting the idea of race, saying it's a social construct. The idea that black people and white people are two different races. It's a social construct. Why? Because, again, he operates from a biblical worldview, which says there's only one human race. We're all different ethnicities and backgrounds and nations, but we're all human together as one race. That doesn't sound like a racist to me, someone that believes that. He's saying we're all the same. It's gaslighting to say that he's a racist from that. You may not agree with him, you may not agree with his politics, but to jump from that to racist is wicked. But again, The people who are saying this, the people who are pushing these narratives, they don't care about facts. They lose all facts, they lose all sense when it comes to these subjects because they have been thoroughly bathed and indoctrinated in critical race theory. But if you're a Christian, they think you're a bigot no matter how much you try to avoid being labeled, no matter how much you try to be peaceful and quiet and nice to everyone. As long as you stand on those truths, as long as you stand on those principles, you are a bigot as far as they're concerned. That's the end.